Thank you for joining us for Local Decision. I'm Rusty Ray, where we are joined now by Jim Bebeau, a candidate for Ward 3, Blaine City Council, running against the incumbent, Andy Jarvis, in your ward.
Yep.
And tell me, we were just talking there, why are you getting into, this is your first foray into politics?
Never done it until now, correct.
And why now?
Just a lot of stuff that I had with my house that I live in, and was previous owners of my parents. Some water issues were, I guess the best way to say it is the plate got tilted. So what used to never be on our property as far as water started working towards our property because of the way they tilted the development to the east of us. So and I don't want to get into it too much because it'd take a really long time.
Yeah, I understand.
But absolutely taught me a lot that there's local government and it can be good and bad. And there were some things that were very tough to, work through, but definitely taught me a lot that it's important to participate for your own good, as well as learning about my neighbors and some other stuff that I became a part of as well. So
you live in an area of Blaine there along, I guess, the northeast or the east side that's really developing quickly. And the roads have been changed and are being updated, but houses are just going in there, Lexington Avenue and those kinds of places. Is that the changing face of Blaine over there, and is that going to continue to grow in a rate that's surprising to some people, I would imagine?
Yeah, I think it's really good for everybody involved. I think that it's super important that the landowners that own their land like I do. I have 5 acres, my neighbors have 15, and we're kind of a box of 20. Neighbors across the street have 5 to up to 80 acres.
Mm-hmm.
But the residents that live right next to me, right along the east, I think it's important for them to have everything right as well. So that's one of the things I've really learned is how all of that works. So I think there's room for everybody, including new people. And I think there's room for people that are like me that have been there for a while. So it's just making sure that it all kind of works together.
So as you've become more familiar with these issues because of your personal ownership of things, but also just kind of maybe some curiosity, what are you learning also that may surprise you, or what have you found out about the way city government works that may have surprised you already?
What caught me off guard, and what really led me to want to run was that, I don't want to use the words like tough to deal with, but that's what it really became. I had to really be an advocate for myself, and that surprised me because I had to really fight with every single obstacle that came our way. And it became frustrating because I started arguing with engineers over literally one of my moments in my yard was gravity and how gravity worked and how water could only flow downhill, not uphill. And then others that came into my property, including at one point in time, I had the old city manager, Clark Arneson, came in and he was awesome. He really kind of took over and helped out. So working my way through the system of engineers and others in the city was a really big eye opener. And then I worked with former council member King. Mm-hmm. I've even worked with Andy Jarvis, the current member. And both of them helped me out. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody. It just became more of a passion for me to understand it. And so that's really been my driving factor, is that I want to serve people. I work in the restaurant industry, been doing it for a long time. And I think that's the role of government, is to help serve. And I felt at times I was being, I don't want to use the word harassed, but I really had to fight for what was right. And that bothered me because it should have been easy.
I think there's a lot of people maybe in your position that have felt that way and maybe didn't take this next step of maybe trying to be involved in the process and maybe just said, there's nothing I can do at City Hall. I don't have time. It's paperwork. I'll just take what they give me and move on. But you're taking, it seems to me, an extra step and saying, you know what, maybe I can be a part of this process. Maybe I can help others. Maybe I can make the process better. Is that kind of what's happening?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing I have is that even with the current events, I've run as many as 15 restaurants at a time. I'm a district manager in the restaurant world. I understand budgets. I understand human resources. I understand that you don't always get it your way. I have bosses that tell me how it is too. So I try really hard, I think, to bring people together. One of the traits I definitely have is the ability to kind of see everybody and what their point of views are. So, but I think what's right is what's right. And that's where my biggest struggle was. And I thought, if I can try to be a part of quote unquote making it right for the citizens of Blaine, which some of my neighbors are having issues, and I've just gotten to know them because of the stuff that's going on. So I really wanted to make it important to me to help others.
No doubt the challenges you've seen in your profession with restaurant business, dining services, with COVID-19 and the regulations and the shutdowns and all the reduced ability to serve customers has likely had a huge impact. What do you think about COVID-19 from a city government standpoint? Have you seen what the city has been doing or decisions the city's been making, and what can you say about that?
Yeah, I've been trying to follow, especially the city council meetings. I try to watch them online. Obviously, you can't go in person anymore, so it's a really tough conundrum. I think masks are super important. I think that especially learning what is in your own situation. I have parents that are in their 70s, but yet every day, for the most part, I'm out in a mask on the front lines with my team in the restaurants. So balancing that out, I think the city's done a nice job. I think it's a no-win, easy to play Monday morning quarterback type situation. So when you look in Blaine, I think I've seen a lot of masks, and I think that's important. It's also it's going to be hard because I can, I have some businesses that are closed that I currently am in charge of, and if they do $1 million a year and you're not collecting taxes on them, and taxes are 8.125%, you're missing $81,000 a year. So trying to balance all that out, tough.
Do you think the city should take the next step, like places like Edina, Rochester, other cities, and require masks for everyone in public?
I think that's a tough call. I'm probably more of the because I see both sides of it. I think it's probably best to have that. I personally, be honest, I don't like wearing my mask whatsoever. So, but when I'm out and about, I carry my mask with me, and I go in and wear masks. Probably 99% of the time. I think it's important to, especially what I've seen, and my belief is, without getting into it too deep, is that we're getting watched, and I can feel that in the industry I'm in, like literally being watched. And I think that you can agree or disagree with all the mandates, but the more we social distance, and if you look at the numbers in Minnesota, we're actually doing really well. So from somebody who doesn't want to wear a mask, but you look at what our stats are, it probably is the right thing to do. Okay. So I wouldn't be against that at all.
Okay. Another opportunity perhaps in the city, the mayor is stepping down after many, many years at that helm, and there could be some changes on city council one way or the other. What kind of opportunities do you think are there for the city moving forward with some new leadership there, both in the mayor's office but also on council? Are there opportunities to make any kinds of changes that the folks who live in Blaine would really notice?
Yeah, I think the piece that would really help is that, I believe that there's just an opportunity to make things more hospitable, or like I said, my personal experiences were very tough to deal with as far as helping out. I don't want to use the term like everybody on that council kind of sticks together, but I'll say I've watched enough of Councilmember Robertson. She asks a lot of tough questions. Those questions are good questions. They're not meant to harm others, I don't think, or try to disrupt anybody. But just digging in a little bit and asking the whys and the how comes and what abouts. For lack of a better term, I think we're more of a rubber stamping organization right now. So I think having a chance to really dig in, and especially with the finances, I think that's going to be something where, and I actually called into the city council about a month ago when COVID hit her sometime back, and asked the questions, what are you going to do with furlough, and what are you going to do with the budget? What are you going to do with all these things? So, if people don't pay their property taxes because they can't afford them, it's going to be a very tough year. So I think has to be change, and I think it's going to be the fiscal side of it that's going to be extremely important.
Are there opportunities? Do you see any opportunities? Yes, you mentioned these challenges, and yes, COVID, from a fiscal standpoint and from a city resource revenue and things like that. But are there opportunities for the city to grow in certain ways, you think, that are maybe more short-term than long-term?
Yeah, I think, what I really like is that the city's done a nice job with the growth, like I said, especially in my area of the woods. I think that there's going to be a need, especially for families that don't have incomes coming in, to really provide services. Like the one thing that bothers me right now is the parks. I've seen a lot of the talk right now is about cutting the funding to the beach, and it's easy, I think, to make an impact or scare people with, hey, this is what we're going to take away from you. I think everything that we do has to be more wrapped around the citizens and the involvement. I coach wrestling at a local high school and work out with some guys in a combat gym. And, the one thing that I've learned in restaurants as well is just the diversity of stuff. And with all the current events of the terrible events in Minneapolis, I think it's really important that, my neighborhood is very diverse, the one that's right to the side of me. And just bringing that all together, I think, I haven't seen much of that, but that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So, kind of bringing everybody together and, doing a really nice job of getting just a tighter knit community. I think Blaine is kind of scattered. I grew up in Coon Rapids, not too far from where we're sitting right here. So, bringing the community together, I think it's so new that those are some really big things. We have traffic issues. We have multiple, just how fast it's growing. So it's fragmented, I think, in many ways. If you go to the south west corner of the city, down by Northtown or those kinds of areas, it's a very different city. I grew up pretty close to Bunker Hills, so the ward that I'm in, 3, is very near and dear to me because it's basically across the street from where I grew up. So bringing all that together, I know it's kind of a long answer, but it's important that I think, especially with today's environment, that we become a lot more focused on the community and not just the city. And I say that because I've seen the defensiveness of the city while they're standing on my property.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a lot of water issues in Blaine. They don't talk about them, but they move water like it's a dice game. I don't know how else to explain it.
Oh, interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not realize that or even think about that until it's in their yard or they need to build a home or fix a home or something like that.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to touch on here while we have time?
No, I can tell you this. I very much, I was going to wear a shirt and tie. I literally live in the woods. I'm everything from playing with chainsaws to making spreadsheets. I know this community really well. I grew up, like I said, 5 minutes from here, 10 minutes from here. It's super important to me to bring everybody together. It's super important to me to have the city, if I get an opportunity to serve it, serve the community and the citizens, and just do a really good job. My phone will always be on, and I will answer everybody's call.
All right. Jim Bebeau, thank you for coming today.
I appreciate it.
You got it.
Thank you.